Hey everyone, so for today's video, I decided to do something that's probably a little different in terms of rating units. Nowadays, with all of the newer units, we're kind of always talking about, ascended unit this, ascended unit that. And for today's video, I kind of wanted to focus on the original Awoken units, the 5-star Awoken units that nowadays don't get as much play. Although where I come in is that I want to rank and give my top 10 personal favorite as well as who I think are the best units that are awoken. So basically, units in 2025 that you can still use and that, you know, while not the best possible options, they're obviously able to hold their own despite being so massively shadowed by the ascended units, unfortunately. But I do want to kind of make this for some of the players out there who might think, you know, there might not be anything available for Awoken units. Don't get me wrong, 95% of them just aren't usable in this day and age, especially with all the 6 stars. But there definitely are them out there. They just happen to mostly be crossovers. But yeah, let's get into it. Starting with number 10, this might come as a surprise to some of you guys, but I am actually going to be choosing Saitama. And the reason I rate him here is while, yes, he's not necessarily reaching up to levels of damage in terms of modern 6 stars, I just think after his Dream Awakening, he's definitely usable, you know what I mean? I do wish that maybe they made this, I don't know. I mean, this isn't bad, don't get me wrong. I love how they made it type EX1 as well, rather than type B. That was a really nice buff, but I do wish they gave him maybe something a little extra, but I really can't complain, especially considering he gets, I mean, look at this, 150% damage against either demons and dragons or gods and beasts. I would personally do this since you're probably going to do more demons, especially considering most of them are dark, and if you're using Saitama, he'll also get the buff for being light, but regardless of that, he's also just great for nuking, you know what I mean? In terms of the new Saitama the hero, not this one, the 6 star I'm talking about, that one is, his super art isn't all in one hit, so this one is still technically faster, although of course the newer one does more damage. But he's still really good in terms of just use, and the double defense slot helps out a lot, especially if you do really want to use him in endgame content. Yeah, I mean, there are, of course, better options, but in terms of nuking and him being a luck unit, he's great to run in, luck clears and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I just personally really like him. Like, his true weapon is also, I mean, it's a weapon, you know what I mean? I can't complain. It's not horrible. Gives him more damage, and I mean, that's all he's really providing, besides these defense slots. But yeah, let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9 is gonna be Juno. I know she's a face that hasn't really been seen, and for the longest time she kind of has been overshadowed, although she used to be the GOAT of ArchGen. She's definitely, I mean, slightly more usable after her Dream evolution. So, I mean, let me go through her kit real quick. So she gives a ton of Type B ArchGen on True Arts. This did recently, I believe, get a slight buff. I want to see. Yeah, so for 20 seconds, it's 7 arts a second. To this day, that actually keeps up. Like, that actually holds up. That's really strong. And for newer players who might not have competent ArchGen, she's probably going to be who you want to get. I mean, I understand, of course, this is a little hard to keep up with potentially, but there is a lot of competent healing. So I'm sure you can figure something out, especially for what she provides. And then as well, let's check the rest of this out. She gets 5 arts a second, 100% damage and accuracy. This was so great for so long. I mean, especially in stages like Chloe where you needed accuracy and then you just spam her. You know what I mean? Because she'll always hit. Demon stats is pretty cool, I guess. And then she also increases her attack and damage by, oh, is it 30% now? It used to be, I believe, 10%. Yeah, that's pretty good. And if you have 4 demon allies, that's 120% damage and attack. Wow. That's not bad. I might want to actually, I mean, she's of course not going to be crazy, but like I could potentially see some shenanigans being pulled off of that. Her Dream 120k is nasty work. It of course increases the heal, debuff to then be 3% instead of 2%. Okay. I mean, 120,000 is wild. That's almost double what it was before. Let's see the other one. Demon ally stats by 30. That's pretty strong. On top of the 10% she already gets, that's going to be 40%. Imagine running this with like Vox or Demon Lord Vox. And then like popping his super arts. Wow. And then 1 a second. So yeah, this is hard because this you're making her or trying to make her more of a DPS, and it makes her slightly harder to kind of keep track of. But this is going to be great if you're just using her as a art gen battery, you know what I mean? Because she gives a ton of arts gen, And if that's something you're really struggling with, pick her up from the forever summons if you happen to get her just for this. And then maybe use this, especially if you're running her with demons, because that is going to be really strong, especially, paired with that. And then the 1 a second is kind of cool, I guess, if you're going to run her with other demons. It's going to be a little harder to maybe find something that works for her, but I'm sure you can honestly probably work something out. But I think, personally, just to test her damage, I low-key want to try this out. Just to see how she is, because, I have her double 4+ from the OG days, and I want to see if she can put in some work. I haven't used her in forever. Her true weapon, you're kind of just going to want this, you know what I mean? This was such a lifesaver. The damage or magic resist debuff is kind of mediocre these days. But this 100 arts instantly when she enters, as well as the heal and magic damage up, is really great for her. It provides her that little bit more of, kind of going that she needs. But yeah, she's still really great. Her slots are insane. This double support slot is really good. Most people will probably want to run EX Gate on her anyways, just to get her to 200. But nowadays, you don't even need that. I mean, this is back then when 140, or it wasn't 140, I think it was like 110, 105, something like that. You get the idea. Basically, once you got her to use this, you won the game because she's giving that much arch gen, But nowadays, it's not as much of a priority, so you can probably run an AoE arch gen equip here, as well as something maybe like Fen's Aloha, or just something, literally anything, Arc Ignite if you really need it. Yeah, but that's pretty much it for her. She's a solid unit. She's in the forever summon, so if you have the chance, pick her up if you can. For this one, I'm going to have Mizuki the 12th. For anybody who was playing during that time, you might know why, but he definitely has a lot going on with his kit. He's definitely not going to be a DPS anymore. But first of all, he has type F arts gen on True Arts, which, nowadays isn't that rare. It used to be really rare, so this was really cool when it came out. But still, that's not horrible, especially considering it lowers physical resist, you know what I mean? He has a third eye mode as well. He gets 200% damage, but you're not going to be using him. And that's if you get it against either demon or dragon and all that fun stuff. But also, he gives everyone 100 arts at the start, once he enters the mode. So you want to obviously use this potentially to start your team off fast, to basically either just make them survive, or if you're doing nukes, he used to be really great for nukes, you know what I mean? You put Axis right here on his 5-star support, get him to 200 with his true weapon, and then he would just, give everyone arts. He would lower physical resist, but nowadays, nuking's a lot more complex in terms of all the 6-stars kits. But yeah, his arts as well. This is really great, especially in terms of Summoner's Roads. it cures status ailments and gives everyone status ailment resist. The extra, 100% damage is pretty nice as well for water allies, but this is really what you're using him for. Like in stages that might burn, like in the fire summoners roads, I know a lot of those burn and you want to get rid of that burn ASAP. So this is going to be a lifesaver, especially if it's giving you, status element resist for the team. So you're just cycling his true art and art. They're getting arts gauge, physical resist down. They're getting, status element resist, and potentially, if you're running water teams, 100% damage. He's definitely overshadowed a lot, as will most of these units be, but he has solid slots, all things considered, you know what I mean? He can maybe run Grief here, his true weapon here for his 5-star physical, and for his support, you know the deal, literally anything. His true weapon as well, in terms of maybe nuking, this used to be needed. It's also, of course, still really good in terms of getting the team started, because once he enters his third eye, it will give him 100 arts, which makes it that much easier to get to his true arts. But yeah, not really much more to say about him. Moving on to the next unit though. Coming in at number 7 is gonna be Liza. I know this is definitely surprising to some. Maybe not really actually, but if you don't have Star God Liza, let me show her for anyone who might not know who that is. Anyone living under a rock. Do they not? Oh, she probably doesn't go by Star. Yeah, Sublime. Yeah, real ones no. But yeah, if you don't have her, which obviously she's really great, we all know that. She's probably the second best thing, because she used to be used all the time, but 50% equip CT, that's still really good. She lowers light and magic resist by 35%, so that's a 70% debuff. She does have some type B arch gen, but that's really just mostly used, or it was used at the start of games, just to get your team to 200, and then you're probably just going to use your type B arch gener anyways from there on. Your main one anyways, not her. Cross arts, what a function. I really wish these were actually usable. But her passive as well, this is really cool. Every time she uses her equips up to 6 stacks, she gets back a certain amount of equip CT. So 5% per stack, up to 30%. So let's say she uses all of her equips 2 times each. Now she's maxed out at 30%, and rather than giving her that speedy 30% equip CT, it basically just, once you use the equip, it cuts the CT to then 70% remaining. You know what I mean? Kind of like how Emperor will chop the 6-star Emperor, like how he'll cut the remaining time for your equips in half. She'll kind of do that, but she'll cut off 30%, which is really good, especially if you run Liza Skirt on her, which will increase, the team's total stats, or you run Norbel's Headdress, all that stuff. It'll help survivability, especially considering she's getting back her equip so fast with this and her passive. Her true weapon is not even worth mentioning. It's just completely horrible. You're never going to use it. I'm not even going to go over it. In Japan, she actually did get a Dream Awakening. I do want to go over this just real quick, because I low-key don't think I saw it. I know she got one, but let's see. Increases all allies magic resist and max HP. Okay. Increase all allies magic damage. Ooh, this is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. This is nice to kind of get her to start off, as well as a nice little buff for the team. Although this is great for survivability. I think, this is probably just going to be okay for teams doing a little bit more damage, getting her to start. But in terms of survivability, especially against magic bosses, this is going to be great, especially with the max HP up. That'll just increase your team's survivability that much more. Did they increase her cross arts? I don't think so. Unless they just, I don't even see it. Am I tweaking, or do they just not have a difference? They just gave her a 6-star slot and called it a day. Oh, well, they increased her arts on art by 1 a second. That's crazy, you know what I mean? Did they buff her true weapon? No. Okay, whatever. Yeah, that's really about it for her though. Usable, but obviously overshadowed by her 6-star form, as 97% of, actually I'll say 100% of units are. Moving on though. Coming in at number 6 is gonna be Human Rimuru. For anybody who has him, I don't personally, I really wish I did. He's actually really great. Even till this day, especially after all of his buffs that he got from all of the reruns, he's actually usable. And this was really funny when I first saw it. The fact he has 5, dream evolutions. I'll kind of go over that real quick in a little bit. But for starters, probably one of the main reasons he's so good to this day is just like the Mizuki I mentioned earlier. He not only heals allies on this, but he refreshes their skill CT, cures status elements, and then also gives status element resist for 20 seconds. That's 5 seconds longer than Mizuki, as well as all these extra effects. And in terms of a lot of endgame content, such as Summoner's Road, this is going to be really great. You know what I mean? Especially for bosses that are spamming, all this stuff. Sure, it isn't instant, which is the one kind of weird part about this, really. It's not instant. There is like a 5-second countdown until it actually pops, whereas Mizuki's is instant. But this has a lot going for it in terms of the heal, the skill CT refresh, and all that stuff. Even on his True Arts as well, he does have lifesteal. That's not even worth really mentioning. And then he gives 60 Type E art gen, kind of mediocre, but then he also increases all allies stats by 30. And that doesn't really sound like a whole lot, but in terms of, total stats, those really matter kind of, especially if you don't have a dedicated healer. And that's going to just provide that little bit of extra survivability to your team, especially paired with his art to heal the team if you really need a healer that bad. Although you're probably not going to be using him like that because you could spam his True Art, give Arts Gen, and probably heal just as much. But he's just really, his slots are great. I don't really have any complaints about his kit. Let me go through his dream evolutions, because that's crazy, you know what I mean? His Crimson, this, I'm not even going to mention it, it's not worth it. This is pretty good. 15% equip CT, that's great, especially considering he's a support, so that's going to help him a lot, especially with the 5% he gets here, plus a crest. That's going to be like, 30% equip CT. Really great. He'll get back that support slot, his true weapon, which I don't even think is really worth it. The Arts Gauge is nice, but he's an Awoken unit, so he's basically always going to have max Arch Gen, especially if you run him with this. It's going to give his arts on skill from 20 to 50. That's insane. Not even looking at the rest, I'd just assume you would pick this. And heal amount and skill will heal. Wait, max HP by 10% for 7 seconds. Is that a 70% heal? Am I tweaking? Is that a 70% heal? Skill will additionally heal. Increase all allies. Oh, I'm just dumb. No, increase all allies max HP. I thought it said heal max HP by 10%. Okay. Yeah, no. Not even worth it. Not even worth it. Maybe second worth it. Literally just for this, if you run him on a mono demon team, that 2 arts a second is going to be nice. It's almost going to be like he's giving 80 arts instead of 60 arts on his True Art. But just in general, you're probably just going to want this just because of the base 50 arts on skill, equip CT, and yeah, he's just that much better. Anyways, though, moving on. Coming in at number 5 is going to be Mako. To anyone who also has her, literally unsurprising, I'm sure. Did she get a... Wait, hold on. Let me check to see if she has a buff. I think she's stronger in global, I want to say, right? Unless I'm geeking. Whatever. She's literally kind of just been so great for so long. Anyone who's been an OG kind of knows that. She has, of course, finally been overshadowed, but her reign was so long until 6 stars came out. Literally her and Juno, those were just like those were the days, you know what I mean? Just those two together would just constantly just go through all content, you know what I mean? They get Arts Gauge, she heals Juno to keep her alive. But not even that, her kit is just, oh my goodness. First of all, Type EX2, which is so rare in terms of Arts Gen, I believe it stacks with anything, even itself. I don't quote me on that last part, but I believe it should stack with basically everything else, you know what I mean? It gives not the best Arts Gen. I mean, it's 60. The heal is okay as well. I mean, it could be higher, but this arts damage buff is really great, you know what I mean? It's I believe the exact same amount as Hazuki, which is a 6-star. So the fact that she's healing, giving Arts Gauge, and giving that insane damage buff is honestly just wild to me, you know what I mean? Like, and then on top of it, her arts is just great, you know what I mean? She lowers, I mean, damage resist by 30%, and then movement speed. I don't even know if there's units that do that these days. That's just a really rare debuff, but it could end up helping you, you know what I mean? Like, let's say the boss is moving slower, so now it takes longer to hit you, and then you got more time to heal your team, you know? And then just Arts Gauge on skill, you can never go wrong with that. Her passives as well is just, you know, great. Equip CT, 30% Fizz Res, flinch resistance. I mean, she basically almost never dies, especially with this True Art. Her True Art has iframes on it. And even in modern content, she can cheese that like crazy, especially like the Nova Crest for Decelia. If you have her there, you don't even need to worry about the end nuke because you can just True Art with her, and that iframes will allow her to live through it, which is just insane. Most units don't really have something like that these days. So the fact that she's able to still make use of that and it wasn't nerfed is great for her. She also has Dream Evolutions. Let's check them out. Really great. Not so great. Maybe in like one mission, I can maybe see somebody coping and trying to say, use this. I mean, don't get me wrong, Fizz Res is great. It's great for survivability, but this is just really great, especially considering you're going to run her with a lot of humans. So her arts goes from 60 to 80 a second. Not 80 a second, that would be insane. 80 total on True Art. And then 20% equip CT. You know? And then plus that, 10. And then a crest, that's going to be 40%. Her true weapon is also really good. You know, 30 arts in 30 seconds. That's great. And then 40% damage if it's used on her because it doubles the effect. Just really great. It's a good buff that actually to this day is still fairly OP in terms of damage buffing, even if it is a general damage buff. But yeah, she's honestly great, and I wouldn't even blame you guys if you tried to rate her higher than that. But yeah, moving on. Hopefully unsurprising to some, coming in at number 4 is going to be Light Sestina. And I know some of you guys may ask why, and some of you guys might know why, but it's literally just her super equip. Just like Fire Orville, when she activates True Arts, not only does she lower light and physical resist by 35%, which is an insane debuff, but then she gets this for 15 seconds. She heals all allies' HP by 1,000 per hit, and then reduces the enemy's physical resist by a stackable 5 for 12 seconds. And this lasts for 15 seconds. Of course, you're probably just going to be spamming her True Art the entire game. Not even probably, you will be, because this isn't really worth using ever anyways. So you'll spam this the entire game. And in terms of healing, this is really strong. I mean, quite literally, people that need healing will still use her to this day, especially paired with Star God Lisa. That 60% equip CT with this, it might not seem like a lot, but rather than 2 seconds, I believe it goes down to like basically near 1 second, which, as you can see, a 1,000 heal at 1 second, that's almost 1,000 heals a second on top of more physical resist down on top of what she already gave. So she's debuffing, she's healing, and then as well as if that wasn't enough, when she's spamming this equip, That's giving BE output, which is basically generating arts for the team. She also has great slots. This defense slot is great for survivability. This is great, obviously. Her true weapon, I can definitely see people using this. I know a lot of people like to put, I believe, Freed's true weapon on her. I'll show you why here in a second. It's basically like an Izanagi, if anyone knows what that is anymore, anyways. But it increases equip speed of gods by 20%, which is probably the strongest, almost non-conditional equip CT buff on an equip passively in the game. As well as that 20% arts damage, but she's not going to be a DPS, so that doesn't really matter. So yeah, a lot of people run that, and I don't blame that. But honestly, with how much she's getting from Stargod Lisa, if you're running them together, which you probably should, I mean, it gets to a point where that much equip CT speed isn't even going to do anything, and you want to run something that just buffs her healing, like her true weapon. It increases her heal amount by 20%. There are, of course, other equips you can use that do this, but this, I mean, gives her 1 a second. That's going to increase her total heal, and if you have a crest, which should be another 20%, it's buffing this heal from 1,000 to 1,400. So now you're healing 1,400 a second, as if it wasn't already crazy enough, you know what I mean? And then she gets 2 arts a second and just all that fun stuff. But just honestly, probably, potentially one of the strongest healers. Of course, there are better healers, but especially on Mono Light, really great, especially if you want a more DPS-oriented team, because she'll provide that debuffing. Moving on, though, coming in at number 3 is gonna be Thetis. So, for anybody who knows Thetis, I mean, we know he's been the GOAT for basically as long as he's been in the game. You know what I mean? He's probably been one of the most consistent 5-star units since his release. I mean, he was obviously busted upon release all the way back then, but he's just maintained. Sure, of course, when Kirisame did release, he did kind of overshadow, but that was, if anything, it's surprising how long Thetis was able to last in the meta. I mean, looking at this kit, he has just such a huge, 50k shield. Thetis can't really compete with that. But he's still usable, even till today, especially considering he just got his Dream Awakenings recently. And actually, before I even look at that, let me just go through his kit with you guys. So basically, his arts is a barrier. It gives some break power to the team. It's whatever. What you're really going to want to do is pop his true art first, which will activate Magia Drive, and then you pop it again, and then it gives everybody that nice shield. It taunt tanks, it cures himself of poison and burn, which is really great, especially on harder stages that constantly do that. This passive is literally nothing. This is really great though. So what this passive does is not only does it give him arts instantly upon Magia Drive, which will then make it easier to pop a shield if you need it, but it gives him 25% damage resist just across the board. And then this as well. Every time he's hit, he gets 1 arts. And considering he taunts all damage to him, he's going to be hit quite a lot, obviously. So what this means is, basically as you pop his true art, he doesn't even really need arts gauge. Obviously, I mean, he does, but this is going to mean that he can just keep popping his true arts. And sure, compared to modern tanks that have more kind of versatility built in, where they can maybe either DPS or provide some support, he's just going to be tanking. You're just going to spam this true art. That's literally all he's doing. But don't get me wrong, your team's not going to die. You know what I mean? And he was goated at doing that back then, back in the taunt tank era, when you would have like Mako, Juno, Thetis, and then like Vox. He would just carry all damage resist for the entire team. And now looking at his Dream Evolution, I mean, I just know that's going to be the best. Let me check his second one. Demon Allies, Break Power, Arts Up, not even worth it. You're going to want to get this one. And here's why. It increases his Magia Drive by an additional 80 seconds, which is really great, especially for longer content where this might run out and you could be in trouble. So it lasting 200 seconds instead is going to be really great for that survivability. But then as well, near death, he gets 15% damage resist. This is really strong, because I already know most people run him with Truth of Eternity already, which is already giving 20% damage resist near death at 4-star, you know what I mean? On top of this, that's then 35%. And if you can figure out a way to make him get near death, that's just 35% by itself. Plus this that he gets, that's then, what, 60% damage resist? Without even using defense equips. And then you have his true weapon, of course. This is definitely pretty nice. I do think in terms of modern content, you could potentially find something better. I can't say what for sure, but I'd still definitely use this on him. The damage is negligible. Max HP is whatever. Especially if you're trying to get him near death, you're basically not going to want that anyways. But this is really good. The freeze resist, seal resist, and paralyze resist is such a lifesaver, especially in endgame content that spams that. This is going to be probably the only reason you use the equip. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of damage resist, especially if you have a good amount of equip CT to make this, pop up. And then you also have his defense slot, and then this, if you want to potentially run something that gives him more damage resist passively. But that's for another day. But yeah, just like, despite the fact that he's been in the game for so long, he's still so usable, which is just really great to see. I mean, of course, you could probably use Kirisame, but to be honest, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, he's probably just as usable after this Dream passive, you know what I mean? This Dream buff that they gave him. I'm not gonna say he's better, but anyone who still has him, or hasn't gotten him and wants him, he's still great to use. Just, it seems to be that these days, taunt tanking isn't as popular as just giving a barrier and then damage resist is, with units like Emiya or Beta, but regardless, still a great unit. Moving on though, this probably won't surprise anybody, but in number 2 is gonna be Emperor, 5-star, of course. I mean, back in his prime, this man was, a menace. You can look back at my older videos where I used to do clears with him, which was a while ago, wow. But, he was goated for the longest time and is still certainly usable. He's in the Forever Summons as well. If you don't have him, I would suggest picking him up. Unless you happen to have the new one, but even then, just for collector's uses. He has great slots. Don't even play. I mean, you know what I mean? He also has the triple true weapon, which was hilarious when this came out. I mean, I will not lie, I may or may not have instantly maxed this out once I got him, just because at the time, he was doing so much damage as an basically art genner with all these weapons. Nowadays, they're kind of meh. You're really probably, maybe this one, but like there's better equips for physical resist debuffing, and also just because it gives him damage if you really still need that. This is okay, but like it does stack with War God Fenn's true weapon as well in terms of human damage up, but these are both kind of whatever, especially this. You don't even really need that these days. But to get into his actual kit, besides his great slots and him being a light human, his true arts, you know what I mean? It gives type B art gen, which is what, 15 seconds, you get 6 a second. So that comes out to, if I can do this in my head, 90 arts, I believe. Yeah. And then as well as that, when he came out, he had these passives, which we had basically never seen before. But depending on which slot he's in, this true art will do a different effect. If he's in slot 1, he'll get accuracy up, he'll get damage against the gods by 150%. Slot 2, 20% damage resist for the team, as well as 150% against humans. And then slot 3 is 50% attack and then 150% damage against demons. And then slot 4 will just cycle through all of them from 1, 2, 3. Nobody used slot 4 besides like maybe 1 or 2 clears. But regardless, First of all, the versatility here that he could potentially be a DPS was just amazing. You know what I mean? The fact he's getting so much damage and being an art gener for the team was just so unseen back then, especially if you popped all of these and then tried to go to his true art with that damage up from his passive. He would literally just melt bosses. It was just so fun to watch, honestly. And then as well as this, he gives stats up to the team. I mean, the physical resist debuff is nice, but it's whatever. This was great for, you know, making sure the team wouldn't just instantly die. And then he even gets 50 arts on skill, 30 if he has a status element. Like, there's just so much going on with this kit. I find it funny how they never really gave him actual passives. I mean, the new 6-star Emperor does have, I believe, what, like 7 arts a second or something, but then he gets this treatment as well, which is funny. But yeah, even to this day, if you don't have the 6-star Emperor, I'd suggest, I mean, obviously not really spending crystals, whatever, but at the very least, chase him in the Forever Summons since he is in them now, and I believe it's still active. I can't say for sure, but yeah, he's still definitely usable, just really overshadowed, but definitely I could see people making use of him. Moving on, though, to the next unit. Unsurprisingly enough, coming in at number 1 is going to be Haruto. So, I mean, obviously, he's been loved for such a long time, you know what I mean? Just, his survivability is just understated, you know what I mean? He would give a 6% heal a second, Arts Gauge, I mean, 13 for 5 Arts Gauge a second for 13 seconds is what, only like 65, and then if there's humans, then it becomes what, 91? So you probably want to run him with humans, and then it is type B, which also kind of sucked, but it's whatever. But this, even to this day, is just so great, and that's why I put him at number 1, because I will not blame you if you run him alongside 6 stars. Like, if anything, what he provides to the team is just as good, especially if you don't have competent damage resist or healing. He's going to be a great second option. Also, this passive is really great. Every time he uses True Arts, the team gets 10% stats, max 30%. This just boosts your survivability even more. You know what I mean? It's like Freerin. I mean, obviously her art, but this is just forever. Everybody has that. And now his 6% of heal a second is going to be even more. I mean, it's still going to be 6%, but since their max HP is up, it's going to boost how much he's actually healing. This cross arts thing, not even going to mention. I wonder what happened to that. I mean, they kind of tried that for a little bit, but we all saw how that went. I wish they actually tried doing something with that. Anyways, Earth allies damaged by 30%. It's kind of whatever. If you run an Earth ally with him, like maybe War God Fen or whatever, it's nice, but if you're not, it's really whatever. He did also get a buff, but before we look at that, his true weapon gives him 2 arts a second and stats up, so you're probably just going to want this anyways. The damage is literally not noticeable. The Earth resist is definitely nice, though. But he got a buff on JP, and let's actually look to see what he got, because I don't think I was here when he got that buff. So, oh, also I didn't mention it, but this is really great in terms of damage buffing. Like if you need your team to do that little bit of extra damage, this 50% arts damage buff is really strong. And if he's being ran with Earth units, that Earth resist is going to be really nice. But yeah, let's check out the JP buffs. 15 seconds, 5 a second, 15, 7. What is that? Is that like a slight second buff? So they increased it by 2 seconds. So 10 more arts or 14 if they're a human. And then this didn't get a buff. I don't even care if this got a buff. Maybe his arts got a buff, I want to say, because I believe that was 15. No, 25. So 50, 30. Yeah, so this got a 5-second buff, which is nice because that means you could probably cycle these a lot easier. Like you use True Art, then you use Art to give everybody a little bit more damage. And also, I didn't mention it before, but his slots are really great. You have this 4-star, you know, for either a cleanse or a revive. This for obviously literally anything, and then his true weapon right here. And let's check his dream evolutions actually. Fire resist support? That's so weird. They should have just given him general equip CT speed. What? Okay, Verdant? Whoa. Oh, 70% is nasty work. What? I mean, just by default, though, you're gonna want this. Literally, just because of this, since he's a support, he's obviously gonna want his support equipped back faster, especially if it increases ally stats by, you know, whatever. If it's like Liza Skirt, you know. And then the fire resist is actually really noticeable. If you're running him with the rest of your team against the fire boss, this is gonna put in some heavy work. The Verdant Dream, though, don't completely sleep on it. I'm not saying it's better than this, but I mean, I think I'd maybe give up 10% equip CT speed, especially if the boss isn't fire, if you're running him alongside Earth DPS, because that is a really noticeable buff. Like 70% is quite a bit. So yeah, it kind of just depends, I guess. Oh, damn, y'all. Loki saw OBS, and I'm going to keep that in the video. Yeah, but, that's my total list, really. I don't know how much of this was surprising, and to newer players that are like, oh my goodness, this unit doesn't have a super art. Yeah, I know. We used to, back in the dark ages when we only had true arts or arts, these are what we had to rely on. But, yeah, like, these are who I think are the best, especially, I mean, I'm kind of rating them based on how usable I think they are in 2025. So that could, of course, change between people, especially with how many 6 stars you have. But I still, you know, I kind of want to think that these are usable. I mean, I know he definitely is. But, yeah. Let me know what you think about, you know, my list. If you would add anybody in, if you would take anybody out, or if you would arrange it, maybe somebody else's first place. Or maybe you're just a Haruto hater and you think he should be all the way last. Whatever. But let me know your thoughts down below. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like and sub for more. I've really been enjoying making these, and I'm glad you guys like them. So thank you for making me able to make these for you guys. But yeah, I guess I will catch you all later then.